Dum 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 dum. What's going on, y'all? Something new. Last game of the year, Orange Bowl. Decided to do a little pre-game show. Um, Depending on how that game goes, I'm definitely doing the instant reaction. But depending on how the game go, we may or may not um, do a halftime reaction. Don't know yet. We're gonna talk a little bit about this game. We didn't pay too much attention to this game because there's been so much other things going on. Um, there's just been so much other stuff going on with FSU. So if you ain't here, man, hit the like button, subscribe, share. You are on 863 Seminole TV. And it is your boy POLK, a.k.a. ALO, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. And we kicking it. Give me a second. Also, of course, we got Penn State and Ole Miss on the TV. For any of those who care about some of these other games, it has not. You know, looking at these bowl games, and I watch old Ohio State. I watched Ohio State and Missouri last night. And it wasn't good football, but you can't expect good football when Ohio State's down to their, go figure, third string quarterback. But you're watching these games and you're watching, obviously Marvin Harrison doesn't play. Ohio State starting quarterback is now the starting quarterback at Syracuse. I think Penn State's got like four or five starters sitting out in this game. I think Ole Miss actually claims that everybody except for I think maybe one player is playing in this game. So kudos to them, I guess. But it's a lot of these teams. Ooh, good hit. He hit the man so hard he spit. Good for these teams that are taking some of these games serious. A lot of these teams they earned their way into these games. So it's cool. Kind of. It's kind of cool to see some of these teams like really be hyped. And I watched that game last night. It wasn't good football. I'm looking at the way they played their freshman quarterback. Speaking of Ohio State, and I say all that to say, like, I'm very interested to see. I think this is the last game of the season. I understand against Florida, against Louisville. Though it take Rodemaker, he had been here long enough where he should have been able to been given the entire playbook to utilize. But I definitely understand against Louisville, bringing in your freshman quarterback, that you are going to play a conservative football game and essentially try not to lose that game, which they were absolutely able to achieve. In this game, I would argue, what's the point? Go out there and let them sling it. I watched Jackson Arnold get his start for Oklahoma this bowl season. And they went out there and just let him sling the ball around the yard. I think he had like 5 or 6 turnovers. Some of those, about 3 or 4 of those, weren't his fault. There was just flat out guys fumble it. Wide receivers would catch the ball and fumble it. The point is, go out there and let them play loose. That's kind of the biggest thing I'm going to just look at and take away from this game. I said it before. I don't have a bunch of expectations for this game. I'm not I don't expect to win. Doesn't mean I'm not rooting for them to win. That doesn't mean I won't be sitting here upset when a bad plays happen and happy when good plays happen. I don't have expectations for this game. You can't show me another team that can have the players opt out that Florida State had and would expect to win a game. But again, with all that said, I am excited to see how they just let those guys go out there and, for lack of a better term, just let their nuts hang. Just go out there and play. Just go out there and play football, man. So that's just the way I look at it. Go out there and play. Roll them out the pocket. Allow Brock Glenn to just get a feel for the speed of the game, and what better team to get a feel for college speed? Because you probably won't face another team defensively as fast as Georgia, unless you play Georgia again in his college football career. Perfect introduction. Now, Louisville was obviously his introduction to college ball, but this is a perfect way to just get him out there. And obviously, you're going to try to run the ball. You're going to do things. There's going to be opportunities for a lot of players because Zion Holmes is going to have a chance to prove that he's running back one next year. We know LT's coming back next year. Cam Davis is going to be coming in, chopping at the bit, ready to prove that he is able to get reps year one. Makai Danzy, who may or may not be a contributor year one. Singleton's going to have an opportunity as a freshman in this game to get some carries and show that the loss of Rodney Hill won't be missed that much. There's going to be guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that are going to have a chance to prove their position next year. This is in a lot of ways, man, this is a de facto, first spring game. There's not an FSU fan here that's going to be, look, y'all already know the nature of the beast. If you're on social media and you follow college football, you know the nature of the beast. I talk about it all the time. Real football conversation doesn't happen anymore. Everything's a troll. So you know the trolls that are going to come with this. Everybody knows the trolls that are come with a loss. There's not a Florida State fan that really cares. Now, maybe if Verse and Keon and Johnny and all these guys are playing, hey, but they're not. And anybody with any sense understands that they're not. But this is de facto, spring game. In a lot of ways, you have players in this game that are going to try to prove that they belong, that they not only want to be here, but they belong here, right? There's some players that obviously want to be at Florida State, but who actually belongs here? FSU just got Marvin Jones Jr. out of the transfer portal. Do you think Byron Turner and Gilbert Edmond and Jaden Jones aren't looking at that situation and going, he's not coming in here taking my spot? At least I'm hoping that's how they're looking at that situation. Pat Payton is all but assured to be one of the starters, obviously, right? That other spot's up for grabs. Everybody's penciling in Marvin Jones Jr. I don't have a problem with that. The players on the roster should have a problem with that. The players on the roster should be going into this game against Georgia, and you know what they should be. Blah. You know what they should be saying? I'm about to go out here against the Georgia Bulldogs and prove that Marvin Jones Jr. ain't nothing sweet over here. There's nothing sweet over here. Gilbert Edmond, Byron Turner, Jaden Jones. Hell, who else we got over there? Maybe Aaron Hester sighting, a Dante Anderson sighting, Lamont Green Jr. sighting, like. These guys are going to have opportunities to show that, no, it's not sweet. You're not just coming in here taking my spot. Brock Glenn has a chance to send a message to Luke Cromaholt, not so much whoever the incumbent starters, because we know we're getting a portal quarterback. And that guy will be the starter. But he has a chance to let Luke Cromaholt know, hey, whoever the starting quarterback is next year, they're not just having a placeholder for you, my guy. You have to come in here and compete with me. So I'm excited to see these matchups. I'm excited to see these young kids who should be motivated to play in this game. I am excited to see that. And you know what else? I'll tell you this. I watched Georgia Tech, a team like Georgia Tech, keep it close. I've watched Auburn almost beat Georgia. For one game, can FSU get it up even without the big time players? For one game, can they put up that type of performance? I think they can. I think they can. I don't know what the score is going to be. We might make a score prediction by the end of this thing, but I think they can. I think Florida State can show up and play loose and just let it. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even care. If you lose by 40, cool. If you go out there and play loose, if Brock Glenn throws 5 picks, hell, Brock Glenn throws 5 picks. Not a big deal to me. But he needs those mental reps. Needs to be able to see that speed, adjust footballs to that speed. All that stuff is going to be extremely interesting to watch. Haven't really tapped into the comment section yet. So let's go to some comments. I don't know what y'all talk about in there. I'll start with Brandon because said that Knicks trade. Man, look, I have no problem trading R.J. Barrett. I would like to keep Quickly though, especially for who we got. Solid 3-and-D wing guy, which we need, but I would like to keep Quickly. Quickly's our main points off the bench. Now I don't think we have that, so we'll see what happens with that. Mike, Bartz, Kusami, Peter Shields, what's up, John, Raymond James, Kane's Raw. Dan Squash says, "What up? See if you can catch those dogs napping. I think they've got to help give it. I mean, obviously. I mean, look, I don't know Georgia's mentality going into this game. For all the talk about Florida State, Georgia's in a unique position themselves. They didn't make the playoff after having a 2-year run, a very historic 2-year run. Anytime you win back-to-back, right, that's historic. So not only are they not in the playoff after being there back-to-back, they also hear all the – they know – I mean, think about it. As a DB, and you know Keon's not playing, Johnny's not playing, Trey Benson's not playing as maybe a linebacker. So are they preparing as hard as they would have if they knew those guys were playing? That's a great question to have. Players are human. Georgia's been caught slipping before. I think it's a valid question to ask. Have those guys been as up for this game as they would have if the better players on this roster were playing in this game? There's a that's a valid question. Georgia has 18 or 19 or so players that have entered the portal themselves. That's some of their key depth. It's a valid question as well. Obviously, Georgia's going to be favored. They recruit at a level that the expectation is, even with the players leaving and opting out for them, they should be yielding still a very talented team. They recruit at that level. But you still got to prepare and all of that stuff. I'd be interested to see how Georgia prepare for this game. Does it take Georgia a half to wake up? If it does, maybe we have a better game than we expect. Lewis says this is a great opportunity for Novell. In a lot of ways, I agree with that. I think this is a great opportunity for Novell. Right? I agree with that. No, they're just practicing with the team. They cannot play in this game. So the Luke Kromenhoeks, the Kai Bates, Charles Lesters, the guys who are actually practicing with the team right now in Miami, cannot play in the game, no. Wait, so Pat P never actually entered the portal. He did not. Knicks got worse. I have no problem with you trading R.J. Barrett, but I would have liked to keep Emmanuel Quickly. Galaxy King says, I hope it's a good one. Simple Zach says, what's up, POLK? One loser draw. I'm proud of this season we had. Of course. Look, one loser draw, it doesn't take away from the season you had. College Football Playoff Committee took away from that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And this is going to sound hypocritical. I don't really care. It is kind of hypocritical on my part. If FSU loses, we'll do an instant reaction show and we'll talk about it. But if they win, if by some slim chance of the gods, by some that 1 in 1 million chance in the multiverse that Doctor Strange saw in Infinity War. Watched that movie again last night, by the way. Still the GOAT Marvel movie. Best Marvel movie, hands down, is Infinity War. And the second best moment in the entire MCU is when Thanos kills Gamora. That shocked me in the theater. Watched it again last night. Incredible movie. Obviously, the best moment in the MCU is the last 30 minutes of Endgame. Sidebar. And that 1 in 1 million chance that Doctor Strange saw where FSU wins this thing, right? Oh, I'm going in. I'm going in on the entire news media. You prepare yourself, your friends, get ready for that video if FSU wins. Everybody forgot that old Money Mike did in those 2021 games against Notre Dame with scraps. Yeah, no, I agree. Georgia's not that though. Georgia's not that Notre Dame. Like Georgia's, I mean, you got to give Kirby. Georgia's a well-oiled machine, so I don't really put him in that category. But I hear what you're saying though. And by the way, FSU's not as bad as those teams, obviously. So there should be a middle ground there. How you feel about my dog Cameron Davis coming? Y'all running back. Y'all know he played Q. Yeah, he played QB. We talked about him on signing day. Again, he's gonna compete. He's gonna compete for some snaps next year for sure. I like Cam. He's gonna have a bright future, I think. There you go. If you feel like making some money, hey, what? It don't hurt you. Throw $100 on that. You leave with a bag. Don't hurt you. There you go. See what I'm saying? You ain't got to put a lot of money to make a bunch of bag, but to make a bag on this game. Why not? Why not? I'm with you, Brent. Again, I am not telling people not to root for this team. I am rooting for this team, But there's the fan side, right? And then there's me talking football side. Right now, you're getting a little bit of both. I'm interested. I'm just, I'm interested to see Hakeem. He tweeted yesterday a watch, basically saying it's time. I'm interested to see him. Again, roll Glenn out the pocket. Try to get. My assumption is Kirby Smart selling out for the run. He doesn't have any respect for Brock Glenn. He doesn't have any respect for the receivers. They're just going to match one-on-one on the outside, bring the safeties up. And if FSU can't run the ball, you expect a long day, right? Hey, man, roll Brock Glenn out of that pocket. Get one-on-one with Hakeem Williams down the field. Get one-on-one with Deuce Spann, who's all of 6'4", 6'5" down the field. Get one-on-one with Dustin Hill down the field. And just throw verticals. Your best against my best, athlete on athlete, and let's see who the hell wins. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? (3-3), by the way, in this game, Ole Miss versus Penn State. I think Ole Miss is driving right now. Appreciate you. I don't get a lot of love from Gator fans. This is a new one. Thank you. Still fuck you, but thank you. Hey, man, you should be optimistic. Again, I'm not going to come in here and sit here and tell you a bunch of lies, but there's a path. There's opportunities. That was my first inclination, Jace. Was do you just run the ball and get out of Dodge? But why not use this game for mental reps? Use this game for opportunity for Brock Glenn to actually get the playbook in his hand. And good catch by number 9 on the sideline. Use this game, man. Use this game because Georgia's going to be the toughest opponent you see. Use this game. Use this game. Let Brock Glenn sling it around because why the hell not? Let those guys play. You're not going to do those guys any favors and I'm talking strictly to the players of the development of especially the offensive players. So you're speaking to the development of the offensive players. You're not going to do those players any favors by going out there having a conservative game plan and just running the ball down the field, running the clock out. Man, look, you recruited him, you gave him a scholarship. Let Brock Glenn throw the ball. You battled Ohio State down to the wire for him. It was he committed to Ohio State, decommitted. You wanted him, obviously. Let him do what you brought him in here to do. And if he throws 3-4 picks, oh well. This is a learning moment. This game means nothing in the grand scheme of anything, and everybody knows that. When you say Tom Brady, what do you mean? Are you saying game managing? Nah. Again, let him sling it, man. Tom Brady's not going to win this game for you because you have nothing around him. Well, I won't say nothing around him, but you have a bunch of unproven around him. At the end of the day, if you want to win this game, what's going to really kind of boil down to is some guys are going to have to emerge that you weren't expecting. Again, whether that's Keziah Holmes, Brock Glenn, Hakeem, Dustin Hill, Dravius Jacobs. Somebody's going to have to emerge on the offensive side of the ball. That's like, wait a minute, this kid's a future problem, right? This kid's a problem. But kind of going out there and just telling Brock to be a game manager of the sorts. Again, that night you're playing to the point where it's like, well, you're not really expecting to win. You're gonna have to take chances. Is the point. What's going on, Randy? Glad to hear you're doing well. Defensively is like the one side of the ball where you're not too worried because a lot of other than Jarrett Verse, your D line's pretty. I mean, Jarrett Verse, Fabian Lovett, but you lose Fabian, get Daryl Jackson, so you can make the argument, right? You simply make the argument. D line's all but intact, with the exception of Jarrett Verse. Big loss, right? Jarrett Verse is a big loss. And I actually question how much of an impact Pat Payton will even have when he's not playing opposite of Verse. I think that is a big deal. But for the most part, you bring in, Fisk and Farmer. Farmer. We've talked a lot about Farmer and NIL and him threatening things. Farmer's got a chance to really put FSU in a bind if he goes out there and has a career game. Now all of a sudden, he really can demand some things. That goes back to recruiting, but we won't talk about that. But I think the D line, Fisk, Farmer, Daryl Jackson, Briggs. We'll probably see some rotation from the young Daniel Lyons and Sampson today. I feel good about defensive line. I'm very interested to watch who on the opposite side of Pat can give some pressure, if any. Your linebackers are playing, your two starters. I know Kalen DeLoach kind of scared some people because he declared we all knew he was going to the draft, but he kind of put out a note, and it was kind of confusing in a sense. What the hell just happened? I thought, okay, we might actually get a shootout here between Penn State and Ohio and Ole Miss here. Might actually be an entertaining game, but Kalen DeLoach kind of scared some folk, I think, but he should be playing in this game. From everything I understand, he's still playing in this game. Him and Bethune, with no Lundy, as Lundy made his way to Colorado. Good luck to him. It's going to be interesting to see. Is it Blake Nicholson? I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of Omar Graham, but you should probably see some Blake Nicholson. In the secondary, you lose Ronaldo, but I think AZ can fill in properly there. Fentrell, You lose Jarian, but you still got Greedy in that slot. I think the big question for me is that other safety spot where Kevin Knowles is listed as the starter. I don't know why we wouldn't just give the starting nod to Conrad Hussey, but I can understand giving Kevin Knowles kind of that, like, hey man, thank you for sticking it out. You're going to start. But I expect to see more of number 12 than number 3, personally. I hope so, anyway. Defensively, man, I think you feel good. Defensively, I think you feel good. I really do. Shout out to Seminole TV and FSU from Louisville. Call nothing but respect today. Appreciate you, Chris. I'm hyped just to see. That's what you should be watching this game for. The young guys. The young guys. Any thoughts on the idea that Mike called the Louisville game with the idea of strictly to not lose, given Tate didn't clear the day? Obviously, Jace, I think that is absolutely the case. I think they absolutely played the Louisville game to not lose because the ACC championship was on the line. You didn't want to put your quarterback in a position where he could give that game away. Absolutely believe that was a conservative game plan offensively. Absolutely believe that. They were still playing for something. And at that point, you couldn't not win the ACC, right? What does the season mean if FSU loses the ACC title game to what kind of turned out to be a lackluster Louisville team? But we knew that because Louisville's side of the schedule was terrible. We had said that all year, that Louisville would probably end up in the ACC championship game because they played nobody. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And yeah, I think absolutely they were conservative in that game. There's no need to be conservative in this game. Just go out there. Just go out there again. Go out there and let it hang. Go out there and let it hang, man. That's the way I feel. I don't have a score yet. I'm debating it. So as I'm talking, I am thinking of my prediction. So don't worry. I'll give that. I just don't know yet. Yep, Dan Squatch, he did. He said he was playing one more for the Gipper and then decided he did not play one more. So I don't know what went into that decision. Either way, good luck to him. Jackson will be playing. If we win, I will be. Oh, if we win, they're all going to get it. Every last one of them. It was a game time decision when Tate sat out the championship game, so no real prep for Brock. What up, Polk? Waiting to see the young guys play loose. Give them what. That's all you gotta do, Jeff. Play loose. Go out there and play loose, man. Again, you go out there and play tight and lose by 20. You can go out there and play loose and lose by 22. So it doesn't really matter. At least that's the way I look at it. And Penn State just gets in the red zone and they can't do anything. So, so for me, again, that's the way I approach this game today. Media set themselves on. I agree. Yeah, I mean, they've been, the more I listen to him, the more I listen to the media. The media is even starting to push back on FSU suing the ACC. If you're not listening to some of the things they're saying, and one of the things that I've said this entire time since the snub, if you actually listen to them talk, they're telling you the truth. And they have not been shy in telling you, like, FSU was, pushed to the side for ratings, even though FSU drives up ratings, but it's SEC ratings. To ticket sales, which I actually hear is it the Sugar Bowl? I hear that the bowl game in New Orleans. I hear that game is actually selling completely terrible right now. The Washington Texas game I hear is selling god awful right now. Um, but if you listen to them talk, they're telling you the truth, and they've been recently talking about the SEC, the ACC, and that Florida State is suing because of the snub. Like they're pushing the narrative that FSU suing because of the college football playoff snub, and that's not the ACC's fault. And almost making light of the situation as it is right now. And what I'm starting to understand, is that the reason why FSU is getting all this pushback and just flat out hate, if you want to call it that, they're going off script. Florida State's going off script right now. They're exposing, man, the dirty game that is college football. They're exposing the dirty game that is college ball, and they're going off script. They're kind of breaking through the fourth wall and letting people know, like, it is what it is. And the media, to me, doesn't look like they know how to respond to it. The snub is only a small part of us. I think here's the thing. The snub is what it is. FSU was making these moves before the snub happened. So, that's just the notion that, is the playoff snub started this whole thing is wrong. So you're right. It's just a small part of the bigger issue. Why? I would love to hear your reasoning for this, Todd. Doesn't really make sense to me, but why should they go to the Big 12? Surf, can I ask you a serious question? Because I'm a believer of results on the football field. So in what way did the Georgia Bulldogs get shafted? In what way? In what way did the Bulldogs get shafted? And the reason I asked that question is because you lost. At the end of the day, you lost the game. And at the end of the day, each year should be within its own year. So those previous two national championships should have no bearing on Georgia making a playoff this year. You lost to a team that lost to Texas. So, but you lost to a team that lost to Texas. So theoretically, let's say the undefeateds get in. Obviously, that didn't happen. FSU went undefeated, Georgia and Michigan. Michigan and Washington. Who should have been the fourth spot then? Y'all should have been the fourth spot? How can y'all justify being the fourth spot when Bama beat you? But then how can Bama justify being a fourth spot when Texas beat you? When Texas beat them? And all of y'all have one loss? I don't think Georgia got snubbed. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. Georgia didn't get snubbed. Georgia lost to a team that lost to Texas, that lost to Oklahoma. Hell, if Oklahoma doesn't lose multiple games, Oklahoma's in that mix. So, and you just saw how Oklahoma looked, granted without Dylan Gabriel, the other night. There's really not a case for Georgia in this. I know everybody wants to say Georgia should feel some type of way. There's legitimately not a case for Georgia. You didn't win your conference, and you lost late in the season. You were number one and undefeated. 3-point loss to Bama again, but you lost. Results on the field matter. You lost to a team that had already lost at home by double digits to Texas. So my question is, how can you justify that? If results on the field matter, how can Georgia sit here and cry foul? Unless you're telling me that the prior 2 years factor into the decision when it shouldn't. And I'm ultimately glad it didn't. Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and USC equals big TV, Fox equals big money. Watch how fast the Big Ten picks up FSU. The powers to be had to make sure Kentucky and Tennessee were ranked just to give UGA ranked wins down the stretch. It's like Bud Elliott say, the other 21 spots are there to justify the 4 they want. Don't disagree with that at all. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Y'all should. I mean, yeah, y'all are gonna feel how y'all feel. I don't personally think y'all should feel pissed, but I mean, luckily the fans don't play the sport, so we'll see if we pay for it. Again, I don't have any expectations of winning this game, but we'll see. Y'all are pissed. Florida State players are pissed. Let's see what happens. 2 pissed teams on the field might make for a good football game. We'll see. I'm just asking for a logical argument to Georgia actually being in the playoff. Now, I'll do you one. I'll help you out, Surfer Boy. Here's where I'll help you out at. If you want to tell me that Georgia is a better team than, because for me, if there's one team in this entire thing that's a fraud, it's the Michigan Wolverines. It's the Michigan Wolverines. I think Bama's going to have their way with Michigan. I really do. I think Bama's going to spank them. I don't think that game's going to be as competitive as people think. If you want to talk about strength of schedule, if you want to talk about actually scheduling out-of-conference opponents like FSU did, I don't know Georgia's out-of-conference schedule. You can enlighten me on that. But if you want to actually talk about putting together a real schedule, playing that schedule and winning it, Michigan avoided all of that. And then by the same criteria that the committee uses to leave Florida State out, which that rule or whatever you call that says players and coaches get considered for missing time in the playoff selection. Somehow Harbaugh missed 6 games this year. And Michigan gets credit for winning those 6 games without their head coach. Jordan Travis has missed 2 games, and FSU got no credit for winning those games. So if you want me to argue for Georgia, the argument is Michigan. I think Michigan is a fraud by every metric. Even if you don't really believe in the cheating scandal, which at first I didn't believe in it. But then when allegedly, like, this guy was dressing up and going on other coaching staff, I thought that was like mind-blowing. If that's true, whatever. Michigan, by every metric, is the fraud. Michigan, by every metric, is the fraud in all of this. That's the argument you should be making. The Michigan argument. If you're a Georgia fan, that's the argument you make. But you can't argue Bama and you can't argue Texas. Because that's the teams that beat you. That's the team that beat you and the team that beat the team that beat you. You can't really argue those ones if you're a Georgia fan. Michigan is who you should be having your problems with. Every UGA fan I know acts like they don't remember what the last 25 years have been outside of the last 3. They always had talented rosters hampered by off-field issues and poor QB play. We can agree that Michigan is a fraud and a cheat. Yep, home at home with Bama and home at home with UGA. Michigan will most likely get spanked by Bama so much for not having a blowout. I agree. If there's one game that I'm going to pick for the blowout, it's that one. If there's one game I'm going to pick for the blowout, it's that one. I think Washington and Texas will be a shootout. Big 12 and Pac 12 are way too similar. That Washington, I think just those teams match up for a shootout. But I think Bama handles Michigan. You look at the way look how these Big Ten teams have even been performing, man. Like, and I said this. I'll get to that in a second. What do I think the narrative will be if Bama loses and we win? It's interesting. Don't know. They won't talk about it in that aspect. What they'll talk about is how great Michigan is, if that was to happen. Bro, you can ask anybody. Any Florida State fan was drooling at the possibility of playing Michigan. We wanted Michigan number one, and we were chomping at the bit. Like, oh my God, you're telling me we're going to get Michigan in the Rose Bowl? Sign us up, because we knew. We knew. And yes, I do think Bama will win it all. I said that from the jump. I believe you will get Texas and Bama in the rematch in the national championship, and you're not going to get me to bet against. I bet I picked Texas to win the first one. You're not going to get me to bet against Saban twice. I don't believe that's going to happen. I'm gonna watch it, but I understand where you're coming from. But I'll be watching it. I'll be watching it. So for FSU to win this game, we kind of talked about it. Player of the game predictions. Look, if FSU is gonna win this game, the defense is gonna have to generate some points. So for me, if I'm picking a player of the game, offensively, I think we're gonna have to get some big chunk plays. I don't know if we'll be able to sustain any drives, but if we can get some chunk plays just off of, I don't know, some trickery, again, like I said, one-on-one matchups, and a guy like Hakeem or Dustin Hill just wins a one-on-one. I can see that. Hard to pick an offensive player of the game based off of that. But hey, depending on how, Brock Glenn looks, if FSU's to win this game, I'm going to say one of the wide receivers will have an offensive performance. They'll break a tackle. They'll do something. They're gonna have to. Ultimately, though, I think the defense is gonna have to score points for FSU to win this game. Definitely generate some turnovers, but I would even argue turnovers won't be enough. Like, they're going to have to scoop and score a pick six or something like that. I'm gonna give it to a guy that I've criticized because I'm not a fan of the way he moves, especially during transfer portal season. I'm gonna say Joshua Farmer comes out here and he shows up. I'm thinking multiple sacks. Again, this is FSU's to win this game. I'm gonna need Joshua Farmer to come out here and show up. So those are my kind of players of the game predictions there. Joshua Farmer on defense and one of the skill position players on offense. It's hard for me to pick, but one of the skill position guys, I'm gonna go with that. And even with all of that, man, a score prediction is very interesting. I'm not going to come in here and pick against us, even though by all logic it says, Georgia wins this game. I'm gonna stick with the undefeated theme of this year. I haven't picked against us all year, and I'm not gonna start now. FSU wins this game. I'm gonna say this. If FSU can find a way to get the 24 plus points, they win this game. And I'm going FSU 27, Georgia 20. FSU 27, Georgia 20. Obviously, the defense is going to have to play out of their mind. And that's a tall task without Jared Verse. But that's the type of score. If FSU can get to 27 points, we can win this game. We can win this game. I believe that. They got to get the 27 points. FSU wins this game. 24 plus points. We can win. 24 plus points. FSU hasn't given up 30 points all year. FSU has not given up 30 points all year. That's kind of where I'm coming from with it. That's okay, John. I love that. I love it, John. Let me tell you something, John. Your coach loses all credibility every time he gets on the field and coaches a game. One more time, John. Every time your coach gets on the field, he loses credibility. Ooh, Penn State just threw a pick. Same score as the Bama game. Same score as the Bama game. But yeah, FSU's got to hold them to under 30. They haven't given up 30 points all year. That's kind of where I'm going with it. Y'all like that video? Yeah, man. Miami fan, after they lose to Rutgers, going to have the nerve to come in here and talk trash. Man, if you don't stop it. Boys lost to Rutgers and the Timberlands Bad Boy Bowl. When you going to come in here and talk trash? Stop it. That damn coach one in Gainesville too, but that damn coach in Coral Gables a fraud. At least he can recruit though, right, John? Shout out to him. At least he can recruit. I know the strategy in Miami. Play that one every stream. I got you, Vontae. Every stream you're going to get the good old So, for Georgia, man, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, Carson Beck, I think he's a good college. He played very well this year. I want to see how the Amarius Mims not playing kind of impacts that game. Again, can we get pressure? If we can get pressure on Beck and maybe force him to do some things he don't want to do, I think we can have a chance. I just jumped in. FSU has not played a team like Georgia before this year. FSU has too many key players opt out. Gotcha. That's a question for Miami fans claim that the Gators ran from them. So that's a question for, I guess, the Florida Gators. Don't know. I just know we play both. So we don't run from no smoke. 0. Another key, tackling. Yeah, you definitely got to tackle, cover. Brock Bowers is a big deal because, I don't know if we have a guy that would have been able to cover him anyway. But you got to tackle. If FSU's defense can play like it played to close the season, you got a shot. The thing about it is, the impact of no Jared Verse is going to be interesting. Can somebody step up in this place? Now, I'm not expecting, that Jared Verse against Louisville type of performance. But no Jared Verse, I'm extremely interested to see who steps up in that position. And can Patrick Payton show that he can lead that room? Because without Verse, I have legit questions. Can Pat generate the type of pressure he's able to generate not playing opposite of Jared Rivers. I have questions about that. So D line is going to be key. If the D line can play like the D line's played all year, um, good catch from the tight end on the sideline from Ole Miss. If that D line can play like it played all year, you probably will blitz Kalen DeLoach a few times. FSU has blitzed him more this year. I expect to see that. Then you have a chance. If FSU's offensive line, I said it, the last live stream. The good news for Florida State offensively is the old line comes back intact. The only person you're missing out is Bless Harris, and that guy didn't play enough for you to really be of impact. The bad news is your old line kind of comes back intact. I worry what a Georgia pass rusher is going to do to Jeremiah Byers. That kind of has me like shook right now. Like, obviously, right? If you cannot block Georgia, your offense is going to have no chance. So I like the fact that for the most part we're returning the whole O-line. I like that. I like that continuity. I like the fact that they should be up to the task. I do worry about certain individual matchups on that O-line, though. So, that's worrisome. That's worrisome. 52-10, John from Georgia. I know, John. I know, John. When's the last time Miami's won a bowl game? It's hard. Miami needs to be in the American Conference. They needed to be somewhere. I want to see what arm Elko has got. Elko. Who's No 850 talking about? Who the hell is Elko? You mean Glenn? Elko coaches for Duke. No, excuse me. Elko coaches for Texas A&M now. My bad. You already know me. That's what I would like to see. Maybe we will see more. Maybe we will see more. Maybe we will see more of that rotation from some of our younger offensive linemen. Exactly. Guys like Keziah Holmes are going to be asked to prove it. It's sad that Miami fans only get pleasure from hoping we lose when they trash. Bro, they've spent an entire year getting pleasure off of hope and a prayer that we lose a game. It's actually kind of wild. The dedication from that fan base is absolutely insane to some degree. The fact that week in and week out, they can get pleasure out of the sheer hope that FSU is to drop a game. It's crazy. And to every weekend have their dreams shattered. It's insane. I don't believe you. Let's put it like that. That is not why Miami fans are here. Maybe that's why you're here. You do not speak for that fan base. I don't believe you. No, Jared Verse is declared for the NFL draft. Yeah, you're speaking logical, but again, I don't believe you don't speak for that fan base. You might be speaking for yourself, but you don't speak for that fan base. Do span. Let me address. You know what? I'm surprised I actually haven't addressed this earlier. Let me speak on this do span thing real quick. I heard a lot of people talk about, man, let's get Dewspan back there playing some quarterback and da 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 da. In theory, knowing that he was a former quarterback makes a lot of sense. Here's my thing with that. Do y'all think Dewspan maybe transferred to Florida State because he didn't want to play quarterback anymore, number one? Number two, you're asking a lot from a guy who's taking no quarterback reps. Like, you are little, in my opinion, and I understand the logic because Dewspan is an athlete and he can do some things. If you are better off playing Brock Glenn, than you are playing a wide receiver who no longer plays the position, who hasn't taken a single snap at quarterback in 3 years, 2 or 3 years. You feel me? And then when we talk about running the Wildcat, if Deuce Spann was 6'4", 240, 50, hell, even 30 or 20 pounds, that would make some sense. Deuce Spann's a tall, slender guy. It ain't like he pushing the pile in the Wildcat. It's not like he's breaking You got to be able to break initial tackles in that Wildcat. You'd be better off, if you want to run the Wildcat, just direct snapping it to Keziah Holmes. But the whole Deuce Spann thing, I understand where Florida State fans are coming from. Don't be surprised if you don't see that. Now, maybe you do. Now, if you're telling me you get like Deuce Spann on an end around and then kind of throw it, I could see that play. Kind of like, what was that play? That play against LSU last year? That was a flea flicker. But maybe something to that nature where you do a toss play to Deuce, and instead of him running it, he drops back and throws it. I could see that because of the threat of the run will bring everybody up, and then Deuce will just lob it off, and he can't throw, obviously. But just him back there taking direct snaps, I don't foresee that. And you haven't seen it in the 2 years he's been here, so I don't know why all of a sudden they would do it now. Then again, maybe that's a wrinkle they put in for Georgia and give them a look they've never seen. So, again, I understand it. I just don't think we see it. Yes, he did, and I think if there's one position group I'm not worried about in the future as we talk to like next year and stuff is that secondary, obviously. Jakai, I mean, he is listed and playing running back this game, so it's going to be interesting to see how they use him. John, go take care of your family. Hit the like button, guys. We just kicking it pre-game show before the game. Nothing too crazy. Just giving my thoughts and my level of expectation for this game. We can take anything positive and run with it. FSU's wearing traditional uni today, gold lids, the garnet top, gold pants. Traditional look to this game for this uniform. I know that because they just released it. So if you're asking, traditional look for the game. So yeah. John, I thought that was y'all's excuse. Isn't that the excuse y'all use for Rutgers? I listen to the Miami Spaces, and I listen to y'all content creators who are afraid to call out Mario Cristobal. I think they must be on Mario Cristobal's payroll because they're scared to ever say anything negative about him, even though he proves every weekend that he sucks. But I listen to those guys, believe it or not. Y'all's excuses were that y'all had all these opt-outs. Were y'all able to field the team against the 6-6? What is the Scarlet Knight? What is the Scarlet Knight? You don't know and I don't know, but you lost to them. You lost to a bunch of Canadians that go to college in New Jersey. Shout out to Ole Miss. They just scored a touchdown. That's what you did. It's okay, Mike. It's okay. Well, Ole Miss looks like they're going to handle a Penn State, and we've talked about Penn State and how and again, here's a question. Here's a question for y'all. If Ole Miss runs Penn State out of the building, how does that make the Michigan? Penn State is one of the only two wins that Michigan has that anybody sees as worth a damn. Ohio State just got beat last night by Missouri. Granted, I will give Ohio State a pass when Marvin Harrison's not playing and your starting quarterback is now the starting quarterback at Syracuse. Even though I know FSU won't get that pass, I'm not the national media. I understand how this thing works. When your best players opt out, the team's not gonna be as good. But Ohio State did lose last night to Missouri. Penn State looks like they about to get mud stomped by Ole Miss. Again, we still talking about Michigan. How does Michigan? How do you justify keeping Michigan in that spot? If you can make a logical argument for it, I'll listen to you. Or you can talk like John and just say people are bitter and completely ignore this guy. I think they've already said Bowers isn't playing, but can Bowers pull a late minute shocker? I mean, sure. I don't think Bowers is playing. I don't know why Bowers would play when he's going to the NFL. And plus he struggled with injuries down the stretch of the year. But maybe he played. Maybe Bowers pulls a shocker. We'll see. Who knows? Mario Cristobal just took 2 timeouts in the offseason because he thought he would be able to use. Yeah, he keeps his timeouts because he thinks he can use them in recruiting. I don't know. He's speaking about the playoff, and FSU fans have a right to be bitter about the playoffs. We'll never not talk about it. We'll never not ask what could have been. I mean, FSU fans have a right to still be mad about that. The players have a right to still be upset about that. I know Mike Norvell. I know he goes on in front of the cameras and says all the right things. That's what he should do. He's the head coach. If he's not poised and in control of his emotions in a fixed point, I don't know how you can expect your team to be. As the leader, you have to be that example. So he gets out there and he says all the right things, and he should. But at home, he is cursing. He's like, Mike Norvell is still pissed about that. FSU fans have a right to be bitter about that. It's not a knock when John says we're bitter. Yeah, we have a right to be. And if Miami was in that same boat, oh my God, the excuses but they would have every right to be as well. But if they were in our boat, oh, you think we're mad? Miami fans would be on Spaces for 48 hours straight. Hell, they already do it. I'm probably being generous. They'd probably be on the Space for 72 hours straight, cussing and crying and complaining. So, John, know your fan base. Look, I'm a college football nut. I'm a watch. I'm a watch. I think Miami's hitting the transfer portal. I don't know. I know FSU's hitting the transfer portal. FSU has already announced they're hitting the transfer portal. Yeah, because who wouldn't go nuts? I understand it. The one stance I never took, even when Fournette and McCaffrey did it, I never got upset about opt-outs. Now, granted, it wasn't at this clip, but again, you cannot. Oh, snap. Number 10 got out of there. Maybe Penn State doesn't get rolled here. We'll see what happens. That Ole Miss defense is absolutely god awful. Yes, man. Back to what I was saying with this comment, though. I've never knocked a kid for opting out. And that was even before this year. But what they just proved to you this year is that you can do a out-of-conference schedule, and you can schedule LSU, a team that preseason hype. You think about Florida State and LSU and the preseason hype for that game. And I want you to go listen to those same media pundits who are criticizing FSU's strengths, the schedule. Damn near all of them had LSU in the playoff. Damn near all of them had LSU winning the West. If you don't believe me, rewind the tape and go watch it. Everybody was picking LSU in the playoff preseason. So FSU can goes up there, they can schedule LSU. They schedule Florida. They schedule Miami every year. Clemson out on the road. Clemson beat Kentucky yesterday. It was actually an entertaining football game. You just told the kids that the games don't mean anything. How the hell can you blame them for opting out when they watched their starting quarterback against a no-named North Alabama team snap his ankle? How can you blame the kids for opting out? How the hell can you blame the kids for opting out? This NIL money is all a facade. There's money there, but it's not the money that they list out. NFL is where the real bag is. What the hell would you not opt out for the real bag? So I hear you, Panama. You're allowed to feel the way you feel. I never criticized it, and even more so now. Again, I told you when it happened that college football set the precedent, and you're going to see more opt-outs. You're going to see more opt-outs in the future, because if you're not making the 12-team playoff, it doesn't matter. Why the hell am I risking anything if I'm not in the playoff? And they just proved that when they let an undefeated team who played their hearts out the entire year for that opportunity. They proved that. Shout out to Dalvin. I can't knock Dalvin, just like I don't knock Fournette or McCaffrey. They all different. They all come from different situations. If you look back, you can tell why Dalvin needed to play in that game. McCaffrey and Fournette both went in the first round. What round did Dalvin go in? 2 or 3? What round pick was Dalvin? Dalvin fell to the second round, I think. You see why Dalvin Cook played in that game compared to McCaffrey and Fournette. They didn't play that game, and they still went in the first round. So that's the precedent that college football set, and you're going to see more opt-outs. And if your traditional views about college football are dead. Your traditional views of college football are dead. I hate to say it like that. Your traditional views about the college ball is dead. All that players, all that stuff about players playing in the bowl games, and bro, that stuff's gone. And you can blame whoever you want to blame for it, but blame college football. Blame ESPN. Blame Kurt Herbstreit for pushing the narrative. Even before Jordan Travis got hurt, they were already pushing the narrative to keep Florida State out of it. FSU was never in the cards. If you don't believe me, go watch. Even before Jordan Travis gets hurt, FSU was never in the cards. Again, FSU just exposed the media's biases and their plans because they didn't lose. The Jordan Travis injury gave them a weak opt-out. But they were never in the plans. They were talking about leaving FSU out even when they were undefeated. Good catch from number 9 is killing Penn State right now. Yeah, they're mask off for sure. Yes, no, you're absolutely right. 12 teams doesn't solve the problem because, yes, the ACC champion will get into the 12-team playoff. But what about the 9-3 Clemson? That might not be the greatest example. We'll lose Miami. What about a 9-3 Miami trying to squeak into the 10th, 11th, or 12th seed of the playoff? But they're up against 9-3, 10-2 Ole Miss, 9-3, 10-2 Penn State. You think the ACC gets the nod over? You think Miami gets the nod over Penn State and Ole Miss based off the precedent that they just set? Miami fans, you tell me. The Miami fans that want to joke and clown about this in the 12-team playoff, Miami's 10-2, 9-3, and you're competing for them last couple playoff spots. And you know the SEC is going to have a couple 10-2, 9-3 teams. The Big Ten is going to have a couple 10-2, 9-3 teams. You think Miami's getting in over these teams? You can be naive if you want to and think that U means a good goddamn thing. If the U meant so much as y'all think it meant, come on, man. They just set the precedent, bro. They told you that the ACC doesn't matter. Shipley did, yeah, exactly, bro. There's a bunch of examples. Fletcher, what happened to Fletcher, Miami fans? He played in his bowl game, looked like he blew something out on like the first carry, got carted out. Shipley got hurt. You saw the quarterback for Texas A&M break his arm on like the first play of the game. That's the risk you take when you play football. I completely understand it. That's the risk you take. But you can't ask these kids to play in these games that they don't mean anything. At least I don't ask them to. NIL deals should be part of playing in bowl games. The problem is NILs aren't even linked to the games in particular. Panama, do you understand the comment you just even wrote? And I've been saying this from the jump. Erase the term NIL. NIL. Deion Sanders said it himself. Go listen to the video he did. They're not NIL deals. This is Deion Sanders out of his mouth. It's pay for play. He knows it. Everybody knows it. This comment you just wrote it's telling you that it's not NIL. But now, if you do that, if you start telling kids, well, you're not going to get an NIL deal if you don't play in the bowl games, you're essentially admitting pay for play. Never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So, no, they have to keep up the NIL facade, and you can't force a player to play in that bowl game unless you're telling me that he's getting paid to play. Now we're talking about salaries and employeeship, and again, now you open up, which Pandora's box has already been opened, but here we are. Here we are in 2023. As the amateurism has died, and we go to semi-pro football. That is what you're watching right now. And when you ask for players to take the NIL deal should be a part of their bowl game participation, this is what we're talking about. The more stipulations, or the more y'all try to link NIL and play, the more you go to employeeship. And that comment itself, you are that comment there, and I'm not coming for you, Panama. I'm just explaining it, right? Because I know you're coming from a place of like you want the purity restored in the game. So I understand what you're trying to say, but in that comment, you are justifying all the fuckery that you don't want. You are justifying everything that you don't want. You are giving it a lane to exist. But we start linking the pay for play, or we start linking if you want this NIL, you got to play an X amount of that's just what we're doing, and it sucks. It sucks that college football is even at this point. To be honest with you, it absolutely sucks. Serious question. What's the difference between playing in bowl games versus playing in the Senior Bowl, i.e., Johnny Wilson? Because they're playing for the bigger bag. And the Senior Bowl isn't, I guess it's not viewed as an all-out, you know what I mean? Like, the Senior Bowl is used as a place to showcase where in theory, you should be going 100%, 1,000 miles an hour in your bowl game. It's not necessarily the case in the Senior Bowl, and I'm pretty sure there's some type of I'm pretty sure there's some type of there's gonna be like a snap count stipulations for a lot of guys that you're not gonna get in your bowl game. There's gonna be some type of insurance policy. I'm assuming. I'm not saying that they don't already. Some of those guys don't already have that, but I think I'm just pretty sure there's a lot of things that come with that Senior Bowl that doesn't come with like playing in a bowl game. They will. The NCAA doesn't have nearly the power I think you think they have, Matt. If they could regulate it, they would regulate it now. But if they are going to regulate it, I'm curious to see how they do it. So, a lot of things there involved with the Senior Bowl that I think. I appreciate you, John, for tuning in. And one more time for John as he heads his way out the door. I just want to remind him of the caliber of coach he has. The NCAA is still investigating Michigan. They're slow, bro. We all know they cheated. But that's my point, Matt, is that not only are they still investigating it, how much do you want to bet Michigan gets no penalty whatsoever? So at what point do we just realize that the NCAA isn't nearly the same entity that it was 20 years ago? And as these conferences get bigger and these schools get more powerful and these conferences get more powerful, there's going to be no need for the NCAA at some point. So the power of the NCAA continues to whatever power they think they have. I mean, even their one transfer rule has got overturned by the courts. That kids can now transfer. Kids can now transfer infinite. They can transfer every year if they want to. If you haven't noticed that, whatever the NCAA tries to put in place is being overturned by courts, and they don't have nearly the power that they used to have. At some point, man, the NCAA will only exist to relegate basketball and softball, but football is going to be too powerful in the end of the day from the looks of it. Yeah, Rutgers makes me laugh too just thinking about it. Freaking Rutgers. I'm trying to figure out how is a Senior Bowl is more important than the Orange Bowl with your teammates, other than the pro scouts being there. But you risk an injury playing every step. I hear you. I hear you, man. I hear you. Like I get it. I get it. Somebody got hurt in the game. Somebody hurt in the Penn State game. But we'll see what happens after the game. But again, when you opened up you tear down another regulation to this, yes, Florida State can expect to lose a Span or an Edmond or hell, a Keziah Holmes. Like guys that you think transferred in here and that you got and that you're good, you don't have to re-recruit. No, it's a mess right now. I'm not Edmond. Not sure why he would, where he thinks some of these guys, like, I don't know, the span. You don't have, where do you think you're going to go? Edmund, where do you think you're going to go? This man threw the ball out of bounds. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think the transfer portal is over for Florida State by a long shot. I do expect after today, FSU hits the ground running on adding people from the portal, but we'll see how that plays out. Well, that was a stipulation that I thought the NCAA should add to the portal. That not only can players only transfer once, they can't transfer till after 3 seasons with their initial team they signed with. Meaning you're a junior or a redshirt sophomore, and then you can transfer. That means that the team that initially recruited you gets the bulk of the time with you, and then you only have a chance to do this one more time. But this every year transfer thing is ridiculous. Jackson might be a guy you might want to watch out for hitting the transfer portal again. If him and his buddies decide they can find some opportunities elsewhere. I mean, a lot of stuff, man. If you can say it's a bad look, if the teams that are vetting you don't think it's a bad look, then who cares what the fan thinks? I think we have to get out of the mind frame that the portal now is for guys who can't make it, can't play, got passed up on depth charts. That is completely not even the case anymore. Transfer portal is not. There was a time where the portal was viewed as, oh, these are the guys who couldn't make it. That ain't the case no more. Are there players like that still? Yes, there are still players like that still. There's still players like that in the portal that make bad decisions. The Rodney Hills, I still think he made a bad decision, but whatever. There are still players in the portal who viewed as making bad decisions, depth chart pieces, guys that weren't that important. And then there's also Evan Stewart in the portal, those big time defensive linemen in the portal from Purdue, and the ones from Texas A&M that all found home. That's not the case anymore. Keon Coleman was in the portal. Everybody knew he was a dog, right? Cam Ward's in the portal. DJ U's in the portal. So it's not viewed in the same light. So this notion that it's a bad look, I don't think it's a bad look. Not if teams are interested in you, it's not a bad look. Don't know. I think it gets announced after this game is my hope. I'm leaning toward DJ at this point. Well, Hakeem didn't enter the portal. Neither did Jerry Jones. Those guys entered the draft. Those guys are going to the NFL. Now, you can make the argument that Hakeem Dent and Jerry Jones need more film, and I won't disagree with you. But again, I cannot knock them for saying, you know what, I don't want to risk blowing a knee out before the NFL Combine or before an NFL invite. I see both sides of the coin, so I don't criticize those players. Tate Rodemaker, he's in the portal, so see what happens with him. I kind of agree with this one. If you're not aware, FSU is looking at that Toledo running back that's in the portal, and I kind of agree. I don't understand looking at the running backs in the portal. You got to think that's a dig to the guys you got on the roster. Like at some point, I do think, and while I am not against the transfer portal. At some point, at certain positions, why is FSU looking at a running back in the portal when you're bringing in Cam Davis? You're bringing in 2 running backs. You're getting LT back healthy next year. You have Keziah Holmes and Singleton on the roster. Why do we need to look at another running back in the portal? Of course, the guys in that room are going to feel some type of way. Like there are certain things that, as a staff, they can do to mitigate some of this transfer portal stuff, and I don't think they do a good job of it. Marvin Jones Jr. may have, somebody said Gilbert Edmond or somebody like that might hit the portal. Marvin Jones Jr. could be the reason why Gilbert Edmond is like, you know what, I'm out. Granted, to a degree, it's not like FSU signed any elite defensive ends, so I don't know why Gilbert Edmond would be upset about that, but we'll see. It's all speculation. Did he announce Georgia Tech today? He must have just announced that today because he hasn't up until I haven't seen that. He must have just announced that at some point. Again, don't know why you would go from Florida State to Georgia Tech, but these are guys getting in the portal who are getting terrible advice, or maybe they just don't want to be here. That's interesting. That's a possibility as well. I agree. That's another position that FSU probably shouldn't be chasing in the portal. You recruited Kirkland, Kendarius Jones, Conrad Hussey, Edwin Joseph, Jabril Rawls, all out of high school. Those are all 5 DBs from last year. It doesn't even count adding a freshman guy out of the JUCO ranks in Ashton Barker. So technically, you brought in 6 freshman DBs last year. And you follow that up with maybe the best DB class in the country, one of the best FSUs maybe ever signed, and Lester, Ricky Knight, Kai Bates, Jamari Howard. In a 2-year span, you've added 10 DBs. What would possibly be the justification for going to the transfer portal to bring in when you already have AZ on the roster? And like, I agree with you. At certain positions, you should not be using resources to bring in safeties. And I saw there's I think the safety from Tennessee was supposed to be on a visit to Florida State sometime soon. Why? I agree with you. I don't understand why. Don't make sense to me. Still can't get a defensive lineman to visit you. That's worth a damn, except for the Purdue kid. Can't get a linebacker to visit you. That's worth a damn. Right? So yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, guys. I just wanted to preview the game a little bit and talk a little bit of stuff. But you already know, after the game, I'll be live again. I heard Wesley Bassant going to the portal. Waiting, I'm waiting. If that's true, FSU should spin the block there. But that's a wait and see mode. We'll see. Those are rumors, right? We'll see. See you after the game, guys. But again, hit that like button, y'all. But again, I will be live after this game. We're gonna talk about it, good or bad. Y'all already know. We're gonna talk about it. I appreciate y'all, and y'all enjoy the rest of this. I guess this Penn State Ole Miss game. I'm gonna chill a little bit. Got a couple hours before the game starts, so I'm gonna chill a little bit. We'll talk about what time, and I might do a halftime reaction. I haven't actually decided on that though, but I'll holler at y'all, man. Y'all already know 863 Seminole TV, and we out here. Go Noles. See y'all after the game.